All right. Welcome in to the Section YY8 podcast. Negative Niece and Harb coming to you after another big road win for the Volunteers. It's hard to get used to that, but I like it. Um,
Uh, Speaking of, that was our first win on the road against a top 15 opponent since,
I believe it was Georgia in 2006, wasn't it?
correct, we were 0 for our last 29.
I was at that game, by the way.
Barn burn.
We were down 24 to, I'm going off memory. We were down 24 to 7 into the third quarter. Um, Scored a touchdown, got a quick turnover, scored another touchdown. I mean, it was like an avalanche. We just ransacked the Bulldogs in the second half. But I remember sitting in the third deck at Sanford Stadium that game, night game on the road. And if you didn't know that, that was the game that Andre Wardlow, I believe, was on the cover of Sports Illustrated the next week. He blocked a punt in the end zone, or Tennessee blocked a punt in the end zone, and he recovered it. And there's maybe I can find it and put it on here on the video version, but go back and look it up. I think it's Andre Wardlow was on the cover of Sports Illustrated diving onto the football. Fun fact. That was a big win back then, to be honest, because it kind of put us in control of it. Well, not in control because we had already lost to Florida, but we were right there in the mix for the East. And then Eric Ainge got hurt. What game was that? Ainge got hurt. I believe it was a home game, and he had hurt his ankle. And we went to Arkansas and got blown out, and then came home and played. I might have these games backwards, but played. He got hurt in the LSU game at home, and Jonathan Crompton came in. We ended up losing late to LSU, Jamarcus Russell, and then we went on the road the next week, and Ainge couldn't play, and we lost to Arkansas, pretty much diminishing any type of a really good season that team in '06 was going to have. They still had a good season. They uh, went to the Outback Bowl, but ended up losing to Penn State. And then the next year, rebounded 10 wins, SEC title game appearance, Outback Bowl win versus Wisconsin, and then the end of Fulmer was the next year. But yeah, big game there, but big game last night, Harbin. You were on a bachelor trip this weekend, and I'm assuming you watched it with the boys last night.
Absolutely.
What was the vibe like?
Major. Laser focused on the Vols from all nine participants. Um, it was a collective group effort. We couldn't have done it with just eight of us. It took all nine. Um, but everybody's undivided. Well, actually, I take that back. Hater and loser Nick Bain fell asleep in the second quarter. He went to bed. Uh,
I'm shocked.
Nikki Poo had a long day.
Unbelievable.
Um, so yeah, so we did it with eight of us. But eight was enough. It was fun. It was electric.
Yeah. I was thinking last night on my way home, I went over to Slagle's to watch it, and like all day long, and then of course, all day long, I was playing golf yesterday morning and didn't really do anything yesterday afternoon. But like I had this calm all day. Like I wasn't even worried about the game, to be honest. I don't know if I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know if it's after we won that national title in baseball, like it's just everything's gravy now. But um, even when we fumbled there in the second quarter and set OU up like in prime position to at least get a field goal, like I was just sitting there, just okay. And then we turned them over the very next play. But yeah, I had this like calm, like usually I'm a little nervous, get that feeling like the Rock says, you get that feeling down here, Harbin. I didn't have
Mm.
that at all yesterday. I felt that confident about this game. And we said it last week. You did and I did. Um, I just felt confident about the game. We were the better football team, and it ended up showing it last night on the field.
Yeah, I agree. I will say probably about 30 minutes before game time, I kind of got that feeling. Like I was like, geez, we better win. Like just kind of normal pregame jitters. Um, but we came out and especially on the defensive side of the ball, flat out dominated. Um, that front seven performance, they're the real deal. They're absolutely the real deal. Oklahoma's offensive line is not good, so I will acknowledge that as well. But I think we equally showed that the world that Oklahoma's offensive line is bad, but our front seven is also elite. Um, run game got absolutely nothing. Excuse me. Except for when they got on the outside, like outside the tackles, got out in the open
Yep.
field. And a lot of that was our secondary was playing back for the majority of the first half when those things were working for them. Let's see here. Oklahoma had 36 rushing yards on 34 attempts.
Pretty good.
And I texted y'all. I want to say is either third quarter or beginning of the fourth quarter. At one point, Oklahoma had 23 rushing attempts, like design run plays. They got hit at or behind the line of scrimmage on 16 of those 23 plays.
Tennessee's line, especially the defensive line, was living in OU's backfield last night. I mean, they were pushing them around.
I believe we ended the game with 13 tackles for loss. That's absurd.
Possibly that has to be close to being right
Well,
because
I know for a fact we had at least 12 with 5 or 6 minutes to play. I'm just assuming we got one more after that because they showed a graphic of it. Um,
we'll have to look that up.
I think the secondary played really well. Obviously, the front seven helped them out. Um, but for the most part, I think the secondary played really well. It was a pleasant surprise. I'll put it that way, just because we didn't really know what to expect with them. Um, and the offense did what they needed to do. I think Nico played well. I think the run game was fine. It started off poor, but then we kind of got a rhythm, and we pretty much just 3 to 4 to 5 yarded them to death. Towards halftime and into the second half. Um, I think we went ultra conservative on offense in the second half. The score does not reflect the game. I'll put it that way. Um, that was just a good old fashioned butt whooping, and whether it be Heupel didn't want to run it up on his old school, emotions were high, or he was playing not to lose in the second half. That's probably more what it was, but I don't want to think that way. Um, that could have been a lot worse than what it was, for sure.
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw somebody posted. They said Tennessee's ultra conservative, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here. Tennessee's ultra conservative approach has got OU fans thinking today that they really could have won that game last night. And it's kind of it is funny. I mean, they were never in that game. I mean, and there's Tennessee fans too. Don't get me wrong. I've got a pre-hater loser of the week. The Josh Walker, listener to the show. I mean, he was texting me after the game, and you'd have thought we'd lost the way he was talking. And I was like, man, we just beat a top 15 team on the road. They were never in the game. And even late when they were trying to come back, it never really felt like they had a chance. And mathematically, they almost didn't with the time and situation. But I mean, Tennessee suffocated those guys all night long. And he said somebody texted him and said, "Oh, if this backup would have started the game, we would have lost." I was like, "You've got to be kidding me! Like, what game were they watching?" Because that guy, OU had, I think, like 94 yards of total offense at the end of the third quarter through three quarters. I mean, they did absolutely nothing. Tennessee, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was the type of defense OU was playing. Was he trying to protect Nico, not physically, but maybe mentally? Young quarterback on the road, didn't want to put him in a tough spot. You didn't really need to because of the way OU's offense was playing against our defense. I I just think they just kind of took the air out of the football. And that's very odd for Josh Heupel to do. But I think it showed two things. One, it shows that he is matured as a coach, as a head coach. And it showed too that Tennessee can win football games in multiple ways. They don't have to go out there and beat you 52-49 like they did against Alabama. They can, but this year they're so versatile, they don't have to. They can beat you 25-15. And really, let's be honest, I don't care what OU fans think. I don't care what some Tennessee fans think because of how we played in the second half. That game was not as close as the 25-15 score indicated. It was more like a 25-3 final score, to be honest. But it felt like it was more, honestly, it could have been easily 35 to 15 or even 42 to 15 because there was a couple drives where we had prime opportunity to try to get that ball in the end zone. And it felt like we just kind of, it was almost like, why didn't we just take three knees and kick a field goal? Because that's basically what they did. But I don't know why they were doing that, but I'm going to go with Heupel on that because he's the head coach. He's won more here than he's lost, and he's doing it at a pretty high level right now. So I think you got to give it to him. He knows what he's doing. And if you're one of those Tennessee fans that were complaining about the offense last night, I think you need to take a seat and take a chill pill because you're wrong. Now, maybe we go through the season and Nico struggles a little bit here and there. I think he's going to. He's technically a freshman quarterback, even though he sat last year. But he's going through everything for the first time. So it kind of had, and I think Grubb text this and some others, it kind of had that late 90s Tennessee football vibe where they played really good defense. They jumped out on you early and they sat on it and they didn't let you come back. The game that it reminded me of, and then we'll get back to you, is the 98 Georgia game. Tennessee won that game 22-3. Okay. That seems like it was kind of a tight game. Go back and watch it. It never was. It felt like a 42-3 game. That whole game, Georgia, Quincy Carter couldn't do anything. Tennessee dominated Georgia on defense. They didn't do anything flashy on offense. They dominated Georgia and won that game 22-3. This was the same vibes this game last night, 25-15. Tennessee dominated Oklahoma. And I need to watch Oklahoma a little more. I don't know if it's Tennessee's that good to make Oklahoma look that bad. Is Oklahoma a little overrated? Maybe. They're struggling offensively at quarterback and offensive line. But I think Tennessee had a lot to do with that last night.
In my opinion, I think it's a mixture of both. Um, I do think that we are a playoff caliber team. Uh,
Yes.
but at the same time, I think Oklahoma's offense is pretty bad. I really do. Um, I think their front seven's pretty good. I know we were dealing with some offensive line issues, but their front seven was pretty legit. Um, we never really busted open anything in the run game. Um, we had a couple like speed options and getting outside of tackles that went for about 15 yards, but that was about it. So credit to them for that. But we really need anything like that. Um, we we would put together 3 yard run, 3 yard run, 4 or 5 yard run here and there, and then Nico would throw a dot. That throw to Thornton was
It was nice.
yeah, like that's. I, I think I said it a couple weeks ago on here. No matter if you're playing Carter High School, Carson Newman, Georgia, or the 85 Bears, like that throw works. Like that's just a
Yeah.
good throw. Um, yeah, I think the game went. I mean, this game was much more low scoring than what everybody predicted. Um, but the outcome was pretty much what we thought it was going to be. I said, I, s- I don't remember word for word what I said, but I think I said I'd be shocked if we didn't win by 10 to 14.
And we
Uh,
did.
and I think you said the same exact thing. I think you said around a 10-point win, um, which in reality, like we already discussed, it should have been more than that. I really should have. Um, and that brings me to one thing about Heupel. Like I have very minimal gripes about him. Our football department is in a very good spot. Um, but on the road, it's like I don't want to say timid, but in games that we're supposed to win on the road, he kind of it at least from my perspective, it kind of feels like he coaches not to lose. Which it worked just fine last night, and I'm very happy. Don't get me wrong, but we had a couple opportunities in the third quarter and early fourth quarter to just like step on their throat and call it a night and put in Gaston Moore, and we just didn't. You know, um, I don't know. I'm not complaining about tonight, but it is it is a pattern. I'll put it that way. And it's something to look forward to in this Arkansas game. Like I said about 6 weeks ago, if we're 4-0, this is a trap game. By God, here we are.
Yeah. It's that trap game coming.
It is, it's good old fashioned trap game. We should beat the hell out of them, and you never know.
I do agree with you though. It seems, I mean, going back to that Florida game last year, you can look back at Alabama last year, um,
Missouri
Missouri. It's like they are, and it reminds me a lot of Philip Fulmer back in the day. Not so much again on the road, but against, let's say, against Florida. They went into that game all the time. It was a tight. They were, you know, like had this monkey on their back. They were afraid to go out there and play their style. It felt like, I don't know if they were really like that or not, but that was the vibe you always got and what it looked like. And I kind of get that vibe, like you said, from them sometimes that he just doesn't want to let loose and put his guys in a precarious spot. But sometimes I think you got to do that. He does not play that way, or Tennessee does not play that way in Neyland Stadium. And I don't understand why that there's a difference in that. But you're right. I looked at Slagle last night a couple times. I was like, let's put this away right here, and they really should have. And honestly, it was put away if you really think about it. But by the score and the mathematics of it, it wasn't. And so it kept OU just a little glimmer of hope, and they kind of took advantage of it a little. But yeah, Tennessee had a chance, like one more score to get it to 26-3 or 32-3. It was done, and they couldn't get it done. But they also went ultra conservative. I mean, three handoffs right up the middle in a row. When have you seen Tennessee do that under Josh Heupel? That's the
or
thing. That's the
or
thing we were
even
talking.
worse, it's third and long, and you throw a screen out to the longest sideline. Let's
Yeah,
say it's third and 9, and you get a 2-yard gain. Like that was the biggest complaint we had last year, and everybody was saying because Joe Milton was at the helm. I disagree with that. Just to be 100% honest with you. You might as well just run it at that point.
you're right. The last night's. game plan and play calling looked a lot like last year when everybody was bitching about Joe Milton being at quarterback. Well, what was the difference
I,
last
I
night?
will I will say the major difference between the play calling this year as opposed to last year, we're extremely confident throwing it over the middle, like crossing
Oh yeah,
routes, post routes, like a touchdown pass to Thornton. Um, how many times we ran that this year that's either gotten a 30-yard gain or a touchdown? You know, how many times did that happen last year? Very little.
very little.
Yeah, like that's the biggest improvement in play calling through the first 4 games of the season. Uh, we're not scared to throw it over the middle because we know we have a guy that's going to hit him.
And
And
we did that early on last night, but second half we did not.
no,
But we didn't
um,
need to.
no, uh, which that brings me to my next point. I may need to issue a public apology to Thornton because he's wide receiver too, no matter how you dice it up. He just is. I thought it was squirrel. It's not. Uh, and I'm gonna have to actually see something during a game from Brazel to give him some credit. Right now, he's looking like the 20-second clip from Practice All Star. Thornton's delivering, and he looks so much better than he did last year.
You know, Brazel, I was watching before we started recording. I was watching the game before Sunday Night Football came on, and they threw, it was it second quarter, first quarter? It was first quarter. They threw a kind of a fade to the corner end zone to him, but Nico made it was terrible. It was underthrown, didn't give him a chance. But you're right. We haven't seen anything from him, but Thornton and Brew McCoy last night were great. The limited opportunities they had to do anything, but yeah, I think you're right on that. WR1 is McCoy, WR2 is Thornton.
Yeah. In my opinion, if you had to pick one player in the game to give the game ball to, it's probably Thornton. Outside of that, it's probably Keenan Peely, one of the two.
Yeah,
Uh, Peely had a absolutely incredible game.
I would throw Jermon McCoy in there for consideration. He had a
Yeah,
good night,
they
not
did.
just on the interception, but he had a 0.00 rating, which is for defender perfect last
Yeah.
night. One pass breakup, one interception, few tackles. Um, it's just crazy to think because I've been. Here's another thing that was bothering me that I was seeing last night. People were saying we need to issue Tim Banks an apology. I don't think so. I'm just glad they're finally playing the way they need to be playing. So yeah, we got on him last year. I'm glad they're up to the level where we need them to be because we've always said
I called for his head last year.
I wasn't to that point, but I was getting close. You
Hand
were.
hand up, I was. And
Um,
I said it at the cabin last night. Um, Tim Banks, I apologize.
I
I
don't
did.
think you should though.
I do. I literally wanted him so far out of Knoxville last year, it wasn't even funny. And that goes to show that people like you and me and whoever listens to this, just in general outside the program, with a winning program, just need to calm down and let them do their thing.
Agree,
Like,
but we are fans.
of course, yeah. And we had reason to be upset last year, you know, but the improvement of, I mean, the front seven was good last year, don't get me wrong, but the improvement of the front seven and so far how the secondaries played with what the expectations were, he's done a phenomenal job with what he has.
And
And
they've got depth too
big time,
everywhere. They've
big time.
got a little depth. It's still somewhat unproven, but they can go to some of these unproven guys and put them out there and not really miss a beat and give some of these other guys a break for a minute. And that's just don't understand that's where we've been behind the Georgias and the Alabamas, the LSU's the last decade. And we've never been able to build that up. And we're slowly getting to that level. We're not there yet, but we're getting close. And I think it's starting to show on the field that we are.
Yeah. I think we have on at least on defense, like especially the D line, that depth is there that we absolutely need. Uh, Next step, obviously, it got exposed a little bit last night, is depth in the offensive line. You know, because
Yeah,
we were struggling a little bit after who was-
Campbell.
thank you. Um, no disrespect to Dane Davis, he shouldn't have been in there. Um,
I may
without
have disrespected Dane Davis a couple times last night.
No, I did in the moment, but now that I've calmed down and I'm chilling out on a Sunday evening, um, no disrespect to him.
Man, I just Harbin. So we're recording and we're kind of talking about Tennessee football. So went to the Morgan Wallen concert Friday night at Neyland Stadium. Tennessee baseball team walked out. So I just saw on here tonight was Peyton Manning, Nico Iamaleava, and Josh Heupel walked him out,
And Brew McCoy
and Brew McCoy.
and Peyton is in full uniform.
Let's see here. I just see the video here.
Here, hang
Oh
on.
yeah, he is in full uniform in the locker room.
I
That's pretty cool.
I got a picture. I'll hold it up to the screen. I don't know if you can see it, but if not, I'll send it to you and you can put it on the video.
That is so awesome.
Um, it's this right here. I don't know if y'all can see here.
Maybe tap the screen and see what it does. I don't know. No. Well, maybe if you're
Anyway,
watching and you can't see that, I'm sure you'll see it by the time this recording comes out. Go look it up. Peyton Manning walks out of the locker room with Brew McCoy, Josh Heupel, and Nico in full uniform. I was kind of thinking he was going to be there Friday night but then I got to looking. They don't have Monday. He doesn't have Monday Night Football this week because they're doing a double header. So, um, awesome show, by the way. Friday night, but we'll talk about it later. So Tennessee beat OU, Harbin, 25-15. AP poll comes out today. Tennessee's number 5. Coaches poll comes out. Tennessee's number 6. Is Tennessee a top 5 team? I know the rankings say it, but are they one of the top 5 teams in the country?
are you going to make me say yes or no?
Now you say whatever you want.
I think it's too early to call that. The people who get wrapped up in rankings in week 4 or week 5, whatever we're in, kind of ridiculous in my opinion. It doesn't matter if you're 1 or 22. We still have to play at Arkansas our next game. We still have to play Florida, Alabama. Um,
What?
like you still have to play the games on your schedule. Look at Notre Dame for example, which you can say what you want about the AP and Notre Dame, but they were number 5 riding high, and boom, got knocked off by Northern Illinois, and nobody cares about them anymore. Um, so, are they a top 5 team from what we've seen? I would lean yes. I would lean yes. I can't say that confidently. Um, we're going to find a lot. We're going to learn a lot about this team in a month, or in the month of October. We're going to know everything we need to know. It's the meat of our schedule. Um, but it don't matter if we're number 5, number 6, 14. Don't matter. All that matters is going to Fayetteville and getting the job done. Of course,
JWTDG.
it's all that matters. It's all that's ever mattered. It's all that's
Stop.
ever.
That's true. You know what I wish they would do? They bring out the college football playoff rankings. I almost wish they would wait till October before they put any rankings out, like no rankings, and just put them out in like 1st of October. Like go a whole month with 0 rankings. Like no one has a number
Yeah.
beside their name.
I mean, like you could have the same conversation about Texas, for example. Um, they're number one in the polls. Have they played anybody? The jury's still out on Michigan. On paper, it was a huge game. Two of the probably arguably top five argument to be made for top two college football programs of all time. Uh, they whooped their ass. I'll give them that. But is Michigan any good? Outside of that, they played, was it Louisiana Monroe this weekend?
Yeah,
They've played either UTEP or UTSA, whichever one. Um, I haven't really seen much out of them, you know? Um, Now with Georgia, I mean, they played Clemson, give them that. Clemson did exactly what we did to North Carolina State. Granted, it was at home and Grayson McCall didn't play, but they took care of business. I don't know what the final was, but they beat them by at least 30 something. Um, I don't know. October is when you start to find out about who's it and who's not.
I agree.
Used to, it was late September, but those days are kind of gone, in my opinion, unless you just fall into having a really good non-conference matchup. Um, but this week on our bye week, it's the Alabama Georgia game. We're gonna find a lot out about both of those teams.
Yeah, big matchup between those two,
And then the weekend that we play Alabama, Georgia and Texas play. Like those are two that could easily be two of the top five teams in the country according to polls playing in one weekend.
I mean, it's elimination chamber almost. I mean
Yeah,
it's a gauntlet, and there's still so much football to be played. So I just brought it up. Is Tennessee a top five team? Because we're rarely in that area. We've been there more under Heupel than we've been in decades. But I was looking at the rankings today. I was like, I think we probably deserve to be there right now. Our schedule's not been great, but I think in the teams we've played, we've beat them so dang bad that it shows how good this team probably is. And we'll learn a lot more about them here in 2 weeks when they go to Arkansas. Because honestly, Tennessee's better than Arkansas. Arkansas's pretty putrid offensively. I watched them play Auburn yesterday with Reagan here, and it was like, what was the owner in Days of Thunder? Um, Randy Quaid played him, whatever his name was. He said they looked like a bunch of monkeys out there trying to F a football. And that's what Auburn and Arkansas looked like yesterday. Um, they're bad. Now Arkansas is going to play some solid defense. But I think Tennessee's just better than them. Tennessee's defense is going to put Arkansas in bad spots unless they just come out hot as a firecracker. But it's a road game in the SEC. It's either going to be late afternoon or a night game. Kind of hoping for a late afternoon game. I'd
yeah,
really rather not play them at night, but if we do, we do. But it's not going to be easy. I think Tennessee's probably going to be favored by 9, 10, 12 points, something like that. But maybe higher. We'll see. But it's a game Tennessee should go win and take care of business. And prove that they're a top five team. And that's what they did last night. They proved they were a top five team. They were poised. Now we talked about them being conservative and Heupel maybe coaching not to lose. But how many times in the past have we seen things that happened to that team last night make us spiral into a loss? Fumbling it inside the 5 yard line, uh, another turnover in minus territory. But they didn't bother him. They just went out there, took care of business, and they looked like a veteran team. They looked like the better team, and they looked like they belonged. And that's what we were asking for all off season when we started talking about the season. We talked about it last week. If Tennessee wants to go where they want to go, they have to win games like that game last night. Check one off the list. Now they got another one. Glad the bye week's coming up because they got some offensive linemen to get healthy. I don't know what's going on with Hurd. I've never heard no pun intended, what his actual injury is. There's some rumors going around that he may not be injured. I've not heard anything substantial on that, but um, they need to get those tackles healthy because you could tell last night they struggled in pass protection just a little bit. And maybe that was another reason they kind of took the air out of the football. They didn't want to get Nico killed. Game maxim number 4, Harbin says, protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, and our ball game. And that's exactly what they did last night.
for sure.
So
Uh,
what? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
well, just real quick, I got two things. Going back to your comment about a bunch of monkeys trying to screw a football or whatever wording you want to use. Um, that that first half was extremely sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
That is one pro and con of the game because Oklahoma played sloppy, and I think we made them play sloppy. But I mean, we had at least one turnover in the first half, maybe two. Um, Oklahoma had at least two, or they had three in the first half. That's why the quarterback got benched, which, in my opinion, I get paid $0 to coach football. You don't bench Jackson Arnold in that game. You just don't. Um, anyway, um, yeah, it was just sloppy. Um, so I'd like to clean that up on our behalf coming up in the next 2 weeks. But also, one thing to make you guys feel confident about, no matter what anybody says about Oklahoma, because the media narrative, an Oklahoma fan actually said this earlier this week. They're like, man, it don't matter who wins the Tennessee Oklahoma game because the media is just going to say whoever lost wasn't really that good to begin with. So you're probably going to hear some things that say, yeah, they beat Oklahoma, but were they any good? The jury may be out on that, but we gave Oklahoma their first loss by double digits at home since 2016.
Yeah.
That's 8 years. That's 8 years for quick math. Um, Oklahoma is known as a tough place to play football. And to put it bluntly, we walked in and whooped their ass, took their lunch money, and now we're going back home because there ain't no love in Oklahoma.
I played that on the way home last night, by the way.
Oh yeah. What about Smokey holding that sign? That was
Yeah,
incredible.
that was great.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
yeah.
Um, so we may or may not record next week. We are on a bye, but I'm also going to be traveling and I'm not sure when I'll be back. But looking ahead to Arkansas real quick, Harbin. Arkansas, I think, is 3-1 now. Is that right?
Correct.
Um, their lone loss was to oh gosh, I've gone blank here.
They
Oklahoma State.
they
Very
absolutely blew that game.
Yeah, they absolutely blew it. They honestly should be 4-0. I don't know who they've got this week. We'll pull up the schedule and look.
They
But
they
what
play they play at Texas A&M.
okay, so that's going to be a tough game. A&M's ranked right now, even though they have a lot yet to prove, but that I don't know what the line will be in that game. I really don't care. But what are you looking for in the or looking forward to Tennessee versus Arkansas? Um, I mean, it's another opportunity to go on the road and prove who you are and prove that you're a top 5 program.
My biggest thing to look at personally is our the matchup between our front seven versus their offensive line and the dual threat of Taylor Green. Uh, because that young man seems to be electric. Um, I don't think he's very great as a passer per se. On the year, he completes 44% of his passes. Well, no, I'm sorry, that was for the Auburn game. Um, on the year, he's completed 50. We'll call it 54% of his passes. He's got 957 passing yards. And he has 4 touchdowns and 4 picks. Let's see here. 416 of those yards were in that Oklahoma State game, which was just chaotic. Uh, but against UAB, which they only won by 10 at home, he went 11 of 26 for 161 yards. And at Auburn, they did win. He went 12 of 27 for 151 yards. But in those two games, he carried the ball 17 times against UAB for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. And against Auburn, he carried it 18 times for 80 yards. Uh, and I don't know if y'all checked out in the second half of that game or not because you thought we were just going to blow them out. When Oklahoma put in, I forgot his name, but the backup quarterback they put in that could absolutely move. Um, we didn't struggle, but once he got in open field, I mean, things got slightly dicey. So, in my opinion, that's the biggest thing to look forward to in that game. Um, they also pretty much the biggest thing is Arkansas is going to try to run the ball because I don't think they can throw it on us whatsoever. So, in my opinion, if you shut down the run game in the first quarter and a half and you put up a couple touchdowns, it should be smooth sailing. Would you agree with that?
Think so. I agree totally with that.
Because let's see here, their RB1. Excuse me if I pronounce this wrong. Jaquindon Jackson uh, against Oklahoma State, 24 carries, 150 yards. UAB, 15 carries, 147 yards. At Auburn, 22 carries, 75 yards. Kick and play. Um, but if we can stuff the run against them and then secondarily uh, contain the quarterback run, if we can do both of those things, I think we absolutely blow them out. Because I don't, based on what I've seen, Arkansas's defense isn't what you would call necessarily lockdown. I don't think
No,
Auburn don't have an offense.
and they move the ball on them.
Yeah, Auburn don't have an offense from what I've seen. Um, UAB put 27 on them. I mean, they obviously gave up 31 to Oklahoma State, but that was a weird game. Um, I don't know. I think just do what we've done all year. Stop the run, make them try to throw it on you, contain the quarterback runs. Like on 3rd and 6, don't let him scramble for 9 and keep the defense on the field. You do that and score a couple times, this game's over. And it can be over within 23 minutes. The recipe is simple. Run the ball and stop the run. I mean, how long has that been a formula for in football? 100 years.
Since the game was created.
That's that's all there is to it. That cat's not going to throw it on us. I'll go on record by saying that right now.
I agree. I think Tennessee, it may be tight for a little bit first half, but I think Oklahoma's better than Arkansas, and you saw what we did to Oklahoma. So I don't expect anything different. We're going to be coming off a bye week. Arkansas's playing at A&M or playing A&M this week. Then they got us. Then they have to go on the road to LSU. I just looked it up. So tough little stretch of games for them. But we're going to be coming off of a bye. We're going to hopefully be pretty healthy. Yeah, I expect Tennessee to, whatever the line is, I expect us to cover it. I'm that confident in this football team right now. There's something about them that just gives me that confidence. Now, when we go to play in Alabama or Georgia, I'm not going to probably be as confident. Um, there'll be some people that won't be confident when we play Florida, but that's because they've got BVS. But we should be because Florida sucks.
No, yeah.
So, but one game at a time, Harbin.
Of
Arkansas.
course, that's what I'm saying. Like the biggest game of the season is Arkansas. It's the biggest game of the year. And you want to know why? It's because it's the one right damn in front of your forehead.
Yes.
That's why it's the biggest game of the year. And I know that's how they're looking at it, but we can try to hide it. We can try to not. Everybody's got a little bit of that battered ball syndrome. Um, I just hope they don't get because that's going to be 3 weeks in a row without a game in Neyland Stadium.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's just look at it like a human being, you know, because we forget that the players and coaches are also just like us. You know,
They are?
they're human beings. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
they were superhumans.
yeah, exactly. Uh, it's 3 weeks in a row without a game in Knoxville. We have a big stretch coming up after this game. Um, I don't expect them to be thinking about Florida or Alabama. But you just have to take care of this game. Just don't shoot yourself in the foot. You have a huge stretch of 4 to 5 games coming up. And this is one of them. It's a road conference matchup, and under Josh Heupel after this weekend, we are 7-7 in those games. So just to keep ourselves humble, we need to look at this game as a coin flip game because under this regime, we're 500 in these games, and that's just a fact. So just take care of business. If you do what you need to do, you're going to win, and you're going to win semi comfortably. And then we can start talking a lot of shit about Florida.
Yes. Yeah,
You
big
know,
game.
I want a zero after the dash next to our name when Billy Napier comes to town. That's what I want.
Yes.
And I also want a four. Or I know we just talked about how rankings don't matter, but I want us to have a pretty good ranking when they come to town. And I
Well,
want to
yeah. I want to
kill them.
send
I
them
want to kill them.
I want to send them to their grave. But
Yeah, I
No more Florida talk. We're getting ahead of ourselves, Harbin. We can't do it.
I'm sorry. I got carried
Um,
away. Uh,
I will be in Arkansas, Harbin. We're making the trip. Me and T Money Reigns, Kevin Griff are going out there with some of the East 522 box crew. They'll be out there. So if you listen to this and you're out there, hit us up. Maybe we can link up. I don't know plans for pregame tailgate or anything like that now. So but we are heading out there. We're leaving Friday, not this coming week, but the next week to head to Fayetteville. So looking forward to that, knocking another stadium off the list. After this one, I'll have three to go: Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Texas. I've been to every other one besides those three. So I'm excited
that's
about that.
it's kind of stolen valor with Oklahoma. You win, but not when they were in the SEC.
But I have been there,
You have,
but they
but
weren't SEC at the time.
correct.
But I have been to technically I've been to that stadium. So and
There's,
we'll play him again. I'll try to
there's
go
an
some other
asterisk.
time.
There's an asterisk.
Asterisk. Okay. Well, am
There's
I? Is this like Barry Bonds' home run record or something?
no, absolutely not. I know, I know you brought that up for a reason, but Barry Bonds is the greatest player to ever play baseball.
I'm not getting into that discussion. He's
And
top
that's
five.
okay. That's fine with me, but he should be in the Hall.
He should. Absolutely, he should.
100% should be in the Hall. Him and Pete Rose not being in the Hall is the greatest travesty to baseball.
Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame pre-steroid era.
He should be in there twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, give him that brass head for before he got on the juice, and give him that brass head for when he got on the juice, and make it
Skinny Barry and Fat Barry.
yeah, and make it like the Grinch's heart. Make it 3 times the size. You
I
know,
mean, anybody that gets walked with the bases loaded intentionally is pretty dang good, whether you're on the juice or not.
he's the
Um,
greatest hitter of all time. And by the way, steroids do not increase your hand-eye coordination.
See, I think Ted Williams is the greatest. Ted Williams or Tony Gwynn are the greatest hitters of all time.
And you know how I feel about Ted Williams. You know how I feel.
I think didn't we have a convert or like as a group? Have we
He
had this
won.
conversation on the golf trip?
He won MVP. Ted Williams won MVP, and then didn't play for 3 years because he went and fought in World War II, and then came back. And his first season back was when he had his season where he hit 400.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The I love it on Twitter. There's like two different accounts I follow, and all they do is tweet either Greg Maddox stats or Tony Gwynn stats. And some of the statistics on both of those guys, I know we're not talking about Maddox, but the amount of times he went to a 3-0 count is ridiculous. And then the amount of times Tony Gwynn got in like a like struck out and two strike count, all this different stuff. I mean, it's crazy how
isn't isn't
good.
isn't the Maddox stat something like in his entire career he went to a 3-0 count like 220 times, and 186 of those were intentional walks.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's something crazy, but
yeah.
we digress here on the podcast. Tennessee, top 5 football program currently, off this week, heading to Arkansas in a couple weeks. So take a breather, relax this coming week, watch some other teams play, get rested up because we got a big stretch coming up after this break. You're at Arkansas, and then you've got a home stretch against Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi State. So long stretch of home games coming up after this break because we've been gone for a while. You think about it, like we played a home game, we went to Charlotte, played another home game last week, road, off, or sorry, road, off, road, and then back home, which is probably one reason they're having that concert this this weekend because it's going to give them basically 3 weeks to get the field recovered. Leading to my next point, I'm going to jump into the haters and losers, Harbin, if that's okay. And I'll just jump off the deep end and go ahead here. My hater and loser of the week is the Oklahoma field crew. I had read something that they're new or something. I don't know, but whoever they are, you got to do better, guys. That playing field last night was pathetic. You know, we had some pretty subpar playing surfaces at UT about 10, 12 years ago there for a stretch. I don't know what was going on. Bob Campbell retired, and I don't know who they brought in, but they got their act straight, or somebody else came in and it's now better. But, you know, we had some pretty shaky field conditions there at one point, but nothing like last night. And I don't know if you all saw, I think Day Day had pointed out, and I saw it too, but the week before when they played Tulane, that field was brown. The Oklahoma field was totally brown. And then this week it was like this lush green. I don't think they mowed that field all week long because, and I don't know what they did to it, but both teams slipping and sliding all over the place. I think some of those injuries that happened were because of how poor the playing surface was. That was pathetic. It was now for OU. It's got to be embarrassing to have a national game of the week, primetime game. ESPN's #1 crews there. A lot of eyeballs are probably on that game. For your field to look like that, you are my hater and loser of the week. Oklahoma, do better. You're better than that. Seriously, you're one of the. I don't know if you're a blue. Yeah, you're a blue blood college football program. Do better. Be better.
Quit taking that damn wagon out on the field.
Yeah, and that. Yeah. Stop driving that wagon and then ponies out there on the field all night.
Yeah,
All right, that was my hater and loser of the week.
of course. I'm gonna go completely off topic with mine. Um, I'm gonna go for my hater and loser of the week. Zen, the nicotine pouches.
I think I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
They are my hater and loser of the week. Which I may look like a hypocrite here. Um, which I probably need to do my research on this. But There's a video circulating on the interweb on social media. Um, Tucker Carlson, known nicotine pouch man, um, was asked about his opinion on Zins, and he was like, "Well, I've actually quit those because they endorsed Kamala Harris's campaign." I don't know how true that is, um, but if they are, I'm going to be in the market for some new pouches.
So I tried to do some research on this. I haven't fully done it yet. I think he did go on to say he's got his own brand of nicotine pouches coming out. I think called Alp,
Yeah, Al.
maybe.
Yeah.
But I tried to look it up, and you got to be careful with media and what you read. But what I've been able to find is they have donated to Democratic PACs, political action committees, mainly with groups that are kind of going towards Senate, Congress seats. But they also have donated to Republicans in the past. So I haven't found anything yet about the Kamala, or in the words of Senator Burchett, Kamala. I haven't found anything about that yet. So I'm kind of holding my opinion on that. But if that is true, they're done in my book.
Well, the reason I don't want to believe it is Kamala's vice president, Walls. He was the one that
Yeah.
tried or did pass in Minnesota to put, was it a 50 or 100%
It's like a 95% tax on
on
nicotine pouches.
Yeah, like,
Why?
get out of here, loser. Get out of here.
Tampon Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, if I want to put a little lip pillow in, a little Leonard Zinard, let me, and without making me pay double for it.
It's like a few years ago, I got in an online argument. I think it was during the World Series, and I think maybe the Giants were playing in it in California or Oakland, or somebody was running these ads. They were wanting to put a tax on soda and candy, like a huge tax. I was like, man, if people want to buy sodas and candy and get overweight and fat, let them buy it. Like, they're basically trying to tax them out of buying that stuff because it's not good for them, which I don't think Dr. Peppers are bad for you. I drink one a day. I honestly don't think they're bad for you. There's a video going around a few years ago of a lady that was like 102 years old, and she has two Dr. Peppers a day. She's 102 with no health problems. So anyway, I mean, that's your choice. It's just we're getting political here, but it's just government overreach, government interference. But I hope Zen didn't do that, or whoever. So now Zen is owned by Philip Morris. So that's where you got to look, is what Philip Morris is doing.
Well, in my opinion, if that's true, you just have to have a better grasp on your target market. Let's just call it like it is.
Especially when that candidate's vice president candidate has done what he's done. But like,
Which,
why would they do that?
and this is the last statement I'll say on this. This is not, if this is true, this is not the first time we've seen a company try to do this. Look at Bud Light. Their VP of marketing went on record saying they were trying to get away from the quote unquote frat boys. That's who drinks Bud Light. That's why you're the number one beer in America,
Yeah.
or were at the time. And also, the whole ordeal with Yeti that went down in like 2018, 2019. I'm not going to get in depth with that, but they irritated a lot of their predominantly target market as well.
Yep.
Um, just hater and losers. There's so many.
There was a lot to choose from this week. There was a ton of haters and losers to choose from.
Also, bring the show up on a lighter note. How good was Pat McAfee's pick on College Game
Huh.
Day?
It was
How good,
awesome.
how good is he with a microphone in his hands?
He's great. He's
He,
awesome.
in my opinion, he's the best thing. Well, not the best thing. I think Scott Van Pelt is still the best at ESPN, but he is the best new hire of the last probably 5 to 10 years at ESPN. Um, when he got brought into WWE, he was great. Um, Anything that dude does with a microphone is just incredible.
I haven't watched Raw since he's been on his sabbatical, to be honest.
It's a Testator, is it not?
Yeah, yeah, I have watched it one time with Tessitore on there, but it's Tessitore, and I don't know what McAfee will McAfee go to SmackDown because it's kind of like him and Michael Cole. Will he go to SmackDown when he comes back in January, and then
I
Graves
don't know.
stays with Tessitore?
I don't know. I'm sure it will be a thing where if USA Network wants him or not, but the time frame for him to return is going to be right when Raw goes to Netflix, and they're going to be
Yeah,
pushing really hard. So
yeah,
it just kind of depends on which network wants him, probably.
right.
And well, and with Netflix, WWE being quote unquote uncensored, they may throw him on Raw because he has a little bit of a tendency to say whatever's on his mind and slip up
Yeah,
here. So
yeah,
they might put him on Raw for that reason.
yeah. So Tennessee on a bye this week. Oh yeah, sorry. Before we go on, haters and losers. I don't know if this guy's a hater or a loser, but did you see the guy that's the K-State fan that said if they lost to BYU, he would shove a 5-layer burrito up his rear end? And then now I don't know if he's followed through with that, but he actually went to Taco Bell, brought the 5-layer burrito home, threw it on the counter, opened the freezer, and put it in the freezer. Now, where it's gone from there, I don't know.
This morning, uh, he hasn't done it yet. But this morning he put out a tweet and he said, "I've been in talks with Taco Bell execs. We're planning something that could break the internet."
Interesting.
Uh, and I'm a certain group message that I'm in. A few of them are listeners to this show. I'm not going to out them. Um, one of them brought up a really good idea of this guy needs to make an OnlyFans and charge X amount of dollars because there's a lot of really dumb people out there that would pay to watch him do this. He can make a lot of money and fulfill his debt at the same time.
And he's got to do it because he's seen well, FSU finally won. They finally beat somebody.
Yeah, they
So
beat.
like
Yeah, good for them.
Cal. Ooh. So anyways, there's that story out there. But Tennessee's on a bye this week, off week. So really quickly, SEC games. Kentucky is at Ole Miss. Mississippi's favored by 17. That's a noon game, ABC. Arkansas at A&M, 3:30 ESPN. There's no line that I'm seeing here on that one yet. Oklahoma is at Auburn, 3:40 kickoff ABC. OU favored by 3. Mississippi State at Texas, 4:15 kickoff SEC Network. Texas favored by 38 and a half. Mississippi State is so bad.
They're
Uh,
really
South Alabama at LSU, 7:45 SEC Network. LSU favored by 20 and a half. And then the main event, 7:30 ABC, Georgia at Alabama. Right now, Georgia favored by 2.5 points. So, not a great weekend of games in the conference, but there's a very big matchup there. So, something to keep your eye on. I was going to look around the nation very quickly, see if there's any other games of note.
while you're looking, I'll kill time.
Okay.
Um, Knee jerk reaction. Ole Miss feels like an absolute hammer play. -17 against Kentucky. If it was in Lexington, it may be a different story, but it's in Oxford. Um, Mississippi State is horrendous. Um, and also that Alabama Georgia game, we can pretend it doesn't, but that game has major implications for us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which, like I said, the only thing that matters is Arkansas. But, but, do you want Alabama rolling in here undefeated? Yes or no?
Actually, kind of do.
For
I don't
selfish
think
reasons?
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest. I don't know if it matters. I think Georgia's better than they are, though.
In my opinion, I think it's better for us if Georgia wins. Um, Now, I got called crazy by a couple people this weekend for saying this. I would rather have a desperate Alabama coming to Knoxville than one that's on their high horse. Um, because if they come in here with one loss and like, damn, like we got to win out, we're Alabama, first year coach, Kellen DeBoer, like, damn, we have to win this game. It's against Tennessee. We beat them almost all the time. And they start pressing. We beat their ass. We break their spirit for the rest of the year, or not break their spirit. You know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
But if they come in and they beat Georgia this week, and they're like, oh, it don't matter if Kalen DeBoer is a coach or Nick Saban, we're still Alabama. I just, in my opinion, I think it's better for us if Georgia wins that football game because after that they still have to play in Austin and in Oxford, and the odds of Georgia winning all three of those games are slim. Personal opinion.
Right. We'll
But
see. College football, like we said, is like I said a couple of weeks ago. It's like week to week anymore. So
it's the greatest. College football is the greatest sport on earth.
it's very fun to be a part of it. I'm glad that we're in part of one of those programs that are a major part of it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being a fan of a program that's not, like a I don't know, a Vandy or Purdue or something. I mean, somebody that's just non-existent, not relevant. Um, I can't imagine not being a part of it. You'd have nothing to. You're just like a casual fan on the weekends. It's crazy. Um, Games to look forward to this weekend nationally, or at least keep your eye on. Oklahoma State's at Kansas State. Where's the other one at here? Louisville at Notre Dame. Number 15 Louisville at number 16 Notre Dame.
Louisville's 15.
Yeah,
Wow.
undefeated. Where's the other one at here? Harbin,
What did Oklahoma fall to?
21. You've got oh, I lost it here. Sorry. Illinois, number 19 Illinois at number 9 Penn State. Saturday night.
That game could be really good.
That could be a good one to keep your eye on. There was one more and I've lost it here. Oh, North Carolina and Duke.
North Carolina got beat. North Carolina got 70 hung on them at home by James Madison.
And paid for it, literally. Paid for it.
Yeah, I'm not watching that shit.
Ooh, Prime, Deion Sanders, Colorado Buffaloes at Central Florida. Central Florida favored by 14. Gus Malzahn, Central Florida. And
Well,
that's about it, Harbin. Not much
UCF
on the docket.
will UCF storm the field for beating Colorado?
I hope so.
That honestly would be one of the funniest things of all time. After they
That's
storm the field for beating Baylor,
yeah.
I'm not even getting.
That's about it on Saturday. Not much else going on around the country that I can see. So, but you never know what college football is going to be like on any given Saturday. Ohio State's at Michigan State. I don't know what Michigan State must not be any good. They're Ohio State's favored by 24 and a half. So that's it. But that's all I got, Harbin. You got anything else?
Sure don't.
Just to finish up, like I said earlier, went to the Morgan Wallen concert Friday night. He had the Tennessee baseball team and Coach Vitello walk him out. That was awesome. Kirby Connell, if you haven't seen it, just looked awesome. Just his get up that he had on, amazing. That was cool. My highlight of the night, and he was only out there for one song, but Eric Church showed up. And I kind of called it to a couple people earlier in the week. I said, I think Church might show up because him and Morgan hang out. He's written some songs for him, and he showed up. They went down to the south end zone. The stage was in the north end zone. They go down to the south end zone. There's a mini stage down there, and he comes out. They sang "Quitting Time" that Eric Church wrote for Morgan. I kind of thought he might sing the other one with him, "Man Made a Bar," but he sang the one song and left. But I've always wanted to see Church, never had the chance to go see him, but so that was cool to hear that. But great show. Looked like there was about 85,000 there. North end zone was blocked off, but there were some people kind of sitting behind it back there. But awesome night, very hot. They kept shooting flames all night long, pyrotechnic flames. And it made it even hotter than it was. But awesome night, long night. We're recording this on Sunday. He's performing again, as we mentioned. Peyton Manning, Brew McCoy, Josh Heupel, and Nico Iamaliava walked out with him tonight. So if you got to go to that, it was awesome. If you didn't get to, you need to be jelly because it was really cool. And it was, look, I'm a Carter guy. You're a Carter guy. We don't like Gibbs, right? Never have, never will. I know people over there. I like those people. I don't hate them or anything, but I don't like Gibbs. They're our rival. Um, but he had the Gibbs flag hanging out, and he gives nod to his school. He talks about Coach Davis, who Coach Davis probably don't know me, but I know him, and Coach Davis is a good guy. And my assistant in high school is Coach Jones, and he has been at Gibbs ever since I left. Coach Jones is a great guy. Was a good coach. He's still over there, so I'm sure some of those guys and those folks were over there. But when he said something about Gibbs, I started booing, and the lady next to me was like, "Oh, what's that about?" And I said, "Oh, I went to Carter. She's not from here. She was from, I think, Georgia." I said, "Oh, I went to Gibbs high school's like main rival." And she's like, "Oh, really? You're from here?" And I said, "Yeah, I went to Carter, and Gibbs was our rival. Still is pretty much our rival." So that's why I'm booing. I had to do that. Maybe I'm a hater and loser, but I don't care.
Who cares?
But it was a cool show though. So that he came out right when when he first came out, and he just kind of sat there and at the tip of the stage and just looked around. I mean, how awesome was that for him? He's a Tennessee fan. He's from here, and getting to play in that stadium. So he was just kind of soaking it all up. You could tell he got emotional a little bit sitting there. So cool show. If you got to go, it was awesome. If you didn't, you should be super jelly, as the kids say. But
Jelly.
jelly. All right, guys, I'm done. I'm tired. Harbin, you look like you're tired. Had a long weekend. So we're going to get out of here. Appreciate everybody listening. Remember, if you're watching this on the YouTube, like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe, comment, whether it's a good comment or a bad comment. You can say F you or great show. But we picked up some more subscribers this week. We're getting close to 100. May not sound like a lot, but it is to us. And you can also find us on the audio version, Spotify. Uh, I don't know what else we're on. Apple. We were on Google, but something's happened with it. I'm not sure if it's on there or not anymore, but I don't know who listens on Google Podcast anyway. So, but appreciate everybody liking, subscribing, following us. Make sure to share it when you listen. And we may see you next week, Harbin. We may not. Hopefully so. But if not, we'll be back after I get back from Arkansas. We'll have a whirlwind couple weeks there because I get back from Arkansas and the very next day I hit the road to Atlanta. So, um, but we'll be back. We'll have an episode definitely after Arkansas, but if not, we'll have one next week too. So, Harbin, have a great week.
Hey, you too, man. And
Keep on
remember,
keeping on.
we will build back better
Yes.
for sure.
I'm gonna try to become this week. I'm gonna try to become unburdened by what has been, or
Of
however that
course.
saying goes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And you all should do that too. Become unburdened by what has been, or whatever that word salad is Kamala talks about. So, all right, for Harbin, I'm Negative Niece. You've been listening to the Section YY8 podcast. Go Vols, and we'll see you next week.